The good news continues for another industry, as we were just discussing, and it's good news for the tyre producers in the country. Government announcing anti-dumping duties on tyres from China. These duties are set to be in place for 5 years and will create a competitive market for local producers and distributors. An investigation was done by the International Trade Administration Commission and it found that the cheap imports limit competition and recommended that duties on new tyres for cars, buses and trucks be implemented. South African Tyre Manufacturers Conference's Managing Executive Nduduzo Chala joins us this afternoon for more on this important development for the industry. A very good afternoon to you. Now, what were some of the industry trends that you saw before these particular duties were announced? I suppose a brief breakdown of the investigation by ITAC and how domestic operators were navigating the space, if at all.
Greetings to yourself, Rafira, and your viewers, and thank you for having the SATMC to come and talk about, I think, the recent result, which was a great outcome for South Africa and the tyre industry in general. I think it's a process of 18 months that we've been through with ITAC and the DTIC in submitting our information that proved the material injury to the local producers. And I think it's been a great result, and we acknowledge the DTIC and ITAC for the great work that it has done. When it comes to some of the trends that we had seen prior to this was a lot of market reduction in terms of the market share of local producers. I think at our strongest was in 2016 with the market share of greater than 60%, to probably 2021, where we saw the market share reduced to less than or just over 50%. And I think that's unsustainable for local production. And you look at that and compare it to the investment that has been made by the local manufacturers in the tyre industry, and that didn't then match up. So we submitted the information, and I think ITAC has done a great job in finding that there has been injury to us. I think other factors as well would be that there's a lot of illicit trade in the tyre industry, and we are still engaging ITAC and SARS with that, in that currently SARS are looking at over 40 cases of illicit trade in the market. So all of that, I think, hampers on the productivity, on the competitiveness and the sustainability of the local producers. So it's taken us 18 months, and I think we are at a great position as the South African Tyre Manufacturers Conference and the local manufacturers of tyres in South Africa.
And Nduduzo, I suppose one of the other questions that people will be wondering if this is set to change the price of tyres significantly for businesses and consumers. And what else are we likely to see going forward when it comes to the competitiveness and those prices?
Rafira, I think we need to probably understand firstly to say anti-dumping measures are not necessarily a pricing or a war, or I think an ambit to say you can increase pricing, but it's to ensure that there's fair trade in the market. And what we have seen, I think, has been that there's been some price discrimination against the local manufacturers from products that come into China. In terms of what we can see going forward, look, I think it's going to take us probably 12 to 18 months for us to reach that stability, in the sense that the importers have already brought in a lot of product from China because of the lapse of the provisional payments that lapsed in March this year. So they had a lot of leeway, or let me say a period of time for them to bring in more product. So we don't expect that the change is going to be immediate. So that's about 12, 18 months. And I think to our credit is that these are going to be in place for the next 5 years. And with that, I think like I mentioned before, is that from a pricing perspective, I think there's been a lot of deliberations between the SATMC members, the DTIC, ITAC, and then the Competition Commission, in the sense that this is, again, not a matter of us to be raising prices, but to ensure that we trade fairly. And that is also to our colleagues who are importers, that they need to also trade fairly and also not exploit consumers, because they've already got product sitting in their warehouses at probably still cheaper prices that they should not then be able to, or should not be, passing over any price increases to consumers
Yeah.
as yet, because they still have the benefit of the stock that they had before. So, I mean, I think it's still going to be some time. And I think, again, as we say, we've also noticed that there are some circumventions in terms of the imposed tariffs and the tariff headings that we have applied for, that they found a loophole. So I think, again, we're engaging with ITEC, we're engaging with SARS to try close those loopholes to ensure that these dumping duties then also, stick
Yes.
for the 5 years. So ensure that there's competitiveness in the local manufacturers.
Yeah, Nduduzo, thank you very much. Let's pause the business bulletin for now.